April 30, 2026. This is the S&P 500 E-futures mini on the 2000 tick chart using NinjaTrader 8. This is what the chart looked like today. So it looked like in the pre-market, it was just kind of chopping around from yesterday's carryover, rallied up, sold off, went sideways. Looked like it was two legs, but it was like one leg and then a choppy upward bias sideways, then another push up. This looked like it was almost like a piecemeal two legs because you could try to capture it in one big leg, but you wouldn't have really found it until much later. And even then, this isn't a very workable channel here because it doesn't really give too much. So then it moved sideways into the close. The volume is picking up, which is really nice. The overall trading wasn't too bad. I took one trade and I lost, but the frustrating thing is it would have won. What happened was I entered incorrectly. I meant to do a sell order and then I did a buy order and then it lost because obviously it was in the wrong direction. What's also frustrating and a little bit depressing is it happened across all accounts. So today my trade copier did work, and unfortunately all accounts lost on a trade that is a proper setup in my opinion. So I'm going to go into the setups right now. Okay, in the pre-market, go ahead and zoom in. It was a push up, break, tested the high, and it flushed down. When I was reviewing this, it looked like there might have been a possible trade here. I don't know if I would have taken this in real time because it is a break. You're looking for a test of the low, which is first attempt and the second attempt. The thing I liked about this was the strong engulfing trigger bar. Moved one tick above and then flushed down. Not really a triple test in my opinion, more like a double test because like this is the first attempt to break, second attempt. If the triple test would have been a third one here, but it was pretty nice. And then you do get a lower high here, and fortunately it never broke below the previous bar. The prices move down, makes a localized low of day, and it starts rallying up this big green up channel, creates a high of day, sold off, pushes back up, and then by the time the market opens, started moving down what initially I thought was this orange down channel a little bit tighter. And then as it's going down and it breaks through and it dwells for two touches outside or two times outside, I eventually dragged it down to here. Now, since I'm looking for reasons to go short, although there's not good confirmations of this support side of this orange down channel, it doesn't quite matter as much because I'm looking for key entry points off this resistance side. But I don't really see any setups that I really like. Pushes all the way down, hits the low. It reverses pretty strongly. I also want to point out the only economic data that came out was 5:30 Pacific Standard, which is right about in here, and it didn't really do anything. I think it was the GDP numbers and probably unemployment stuff. But anyways, it pushes up this green up channel, breaks. So I initially had this also a little tighter, something here, but it broke. And then these 4 or 5 candles look like they're touching pretty well the same side. So that's when I dragged it up here, and it fits rather nicely. So I'm thinking prices are moving up this green up channel. It's a break. It's a first entry long pullback. Gives you a second entry long. I called it an almost trade because in real time, it's the EMA isn't really acting as support or resistance because it's just cutting right through. So that gives me a little bit more caution because it is a break of this orange. It made one attempt down, and in real time, I'm thinking, could it make another attempt down? Although it looks like it's making a second leg up. So I really didn't really know. So I want to leave it alone. It does push up to the high. It does push up to the high side and actually makes 2 clean legs. So I thought there might have been a trade here. The problem is for second entry short, this looks really nice, except it's inside to this guy. So that leaves a little bit of room for me to interpret that this is a little bit riskier. So even though this is a second entry short, 2 nice legs up, I'm expecting another orange leg down like this one. I wanted a lower high here. And your lower high shows up here, and that's not helpful because it already pushed too far away from the setup. So it pushes down. I thought there might have been some kind of support area here. Break of the orange, test the low, and continues drifting downwards. Go ahead and crunch this a little bit. So it hits a localized low. It pushes up. You really don't even get a technical first entry short till about right here. So it's first entry short, then it's a second entry short. Then you get a lower high. I actually thought this was a possible trade because It's a push of this green up channel, break, test the high. So I'm thinking this green up channel has played out. Is prices still continuing to sell off? I'm not sure because I do know there's this big leg down. Technically, this big leg, this orange leg has broken and tested the low, but didn't mean to do that. But this was a kind of a nice setup, even though it's like a first entry short, second entry short. Second entry short has made a new high. What has happened is this big strong reversal engulfed these 2, 3 previous bars and closed the low. Then the follow through candle also pushed down. And at the time I was thinking, well, it did bounce off of this support. Is this support going to come into play and become important? It pushes through. So I'm thinking, okay, this support isn't really holding anymore. Then it pushes up and it pushes back down, also closes below here. So I thought this is a possible trade, at least for 6-tick scalp. And I wasn't really worried that the support of this would come into play because this is only one bar, but it looks like prices are moving down. So it pushes down. It's a localized bottom and it kind of double bottoms here. So let's just try to see what I was thinking in real time. It pushes down, it makes a first entry short. Technically, you have a second entry short. This is really nice and all, except I was thinking even then I was in some kind of range and I was looking for a move back up to here. So if this is a more of an aggressive push touched here and reverses, give you this nice candle, and I think I would have taken a trade here. It gets kind of confirmed here as a first entry short, second entry short. It does come down here, pushes back down, gives you a potential fail breakout, and then is a break on the low side of this orange up channel, but it's starting to reverse back up. So pushes and actually gives you a failed breakout on this high side. So I'm very interested to see if this failed breakout is going to correspond and make a symmetrical breakout here. It pushes back through. So I'm thinking this break of this green up channel has tested the high. Then it pushes down, and this is actually where I take my one trade. And it was a wrong trade. It was the right idea though. So I'm thinking ULO, first entry short, second entry short, second entry short combined with a failed breakout, strong push back down. It tried to make one attempt up. This candle, like the previous candles here, engulfed the last two previous ones, closed at the low. But in real time, I was thinking this is probably going to move back down to test the low. So I decided to enter one tick below here on the engulfing. But as you can see, I did it incorrectly. So I thought this lower high, this is going to be fantastic. Entered right here. You can see it's a blue candle. So I technically bought when I meant to sell. And then it floated down. I noticed my trade was incorrect. And then it stopped me out because and my stop is 3 ticks, which is of course, in actuality, it should be a pink bar here and then my stop would be up here. And I would have gotten my 6-tick scalp, but I actually entered the trade, didn't pay attention, wasn't even looking at the entry, and then what the entry was entailing, and then took a loss. So this is I call it lower high with an X. So it is, in my opinion, the proper trade. It just wasn't executed correctly, and that's on me. So that was kind of painful to see. So it's the first entry long, second entry long. You get a higher low here, but I'm not going to buy into this potential top of the range. Go ahead and normalize this. Looks like it's 2 legs up. It starts reversing. You have first entry long pullback. Technically, you have a second entry long here, but it's also kind of out in the middle of nowhere. It might be moving back into this range. Then it breaks, tests the low, and it starts reversing back up. By the time it gets here, I don't think this trading range is in play anymore. Prices are now doing their own thing, something new. It looks like it's starting to reverse upwards. So this is where you get your first entry short. It's a break of the screen up channel. I'm expecting a test of the high, and it gets it. So I'm not really thinking of going long now. I'm also not thinking of going short for sure because EMA is pretty far away. Even though EMA isn't super reliable, if you look to the left, it was just kind of prices moving above and below. So start pressing up. Fast forward a little bit. Break, test the high, and it's really hard to find a channel that fits this, but then it does look like there's a correction here of this orange. Test the low, and then reverses back up. I put this transparent red channel here, but it doesn't really, I'm not the big fan of it because it doesn't quite fit too well. When it had 1 touch, 2 touch, 3 touch, I was thinking this is turning into something, and I dragged and created the high side of this channel because up until this point, I'm thinking, okay, we might actually have something. Also marked a new low, first entry short, potential second entry short, also a new high, first entry long, potential second entry long failure. But I am not going to short into, even though this support wasn't really, I didn't really trust it that much. You have the EMA creeping up. So I'd be selling into two things that may actually have an important factor. The EMA could act as a support. And if this channel actually turns out to be something, then I'd be selling right into that support, which I don't like. So I did mark it, I did see it, and I thought there's two key entry points, but that's not strong enough for this situation. In this case, it would have worked for 6 tick scalp, but even though it worked, it's just one of those, in my opinion, like a low probability setup that just happened to work. And you get those all the time. You also get high probability setups that fail. So that was just kind of something I noticed, but there's no trade there for sure. The prices push up, break of this green up channel, test the high. It looks like it's 2 legs up, and then it starts reversing back down and through. It gives you a lower high. At the time, I was thinking, is these two blue lines containing some kind of trading range? Because I was thinking maybe the bottom of the range is here, but you really only have one touch defining the low side. And then this high side looks like there's at least 3 touches already. And there's a fail breakout here, and there's a bigger fail breakout here. But at least the low side looks like it's coming into play. So I thought there might have been enough for a quick 6 tick scalp, but I wasn't going to take that though. But I thought there's a possible trade here. Pushes down, break. As soon as it pushes down, also something like this, I did establish this orange down channel coming down. And if I found this earlier, I think I would have been more hesitant to take a trade, because then this trade becomes an almost trade because it'd be selling right into this orange down channel. But in real time, I thought this was a possible trade. In hindsight, I think it's an almost trade now that I've seen that this is probably the orange down channel in play. Now, to be honest, right about here, you probably could have started drawing this, but I was thinking it might have been a little bit more aggressive, something like this. And if it was something like this, then you do have enough room for a 6 tick scalp, but I didn't know enough at the time. So in real time, I thought it was a possible setup. In hindsight, I don't think it doesn't look as good anymore. But that's neither here nor there, because in hindsight, everything looks great and you're genius. But in real time, I think I would have maybe have tried to take this trade. So there's a break of this orange down channel, test the low, it starts reversing back up. And I'm seeing this in real time, and I'm trying to figure out and try to make something fit, because I did have something early on, something like this, but again, it doesn't really help because there's only one touch confirmation here. No matter how aggressively tight I draw it, try to get this to touch, then that means I'm cutting through here. So I didn't draw it, or I didn't leave it on there. Pushes up this green up channel break, test the high. Fortunately, you'll get another setup here, and it pushes back up. You have a first entry short. Technically, you have a second entry short. It's a terrible signal bar. Similar to this area here, I tried to make something fit, but it never really did fit anything nicely. So again, this up channel turns out to be transparent because I can't see it. So I can't justify, treating it as an actual channel moving up. It was just more of a hunch at that point. It looks like it's 2 legs down. I really wanted this to be a green bar because it looks like it's 2 clean legs down. I did have this as a trend line that if there's a green bar, there's probably a trend line bounce before it turns into a channel, which it never did. But unfortunately, it turned out to be a red candle. So I just be extra cautious. And it did make the measured move. To be extra cautious, I wanted a higher low. But of course, it never shows up. Pushes the high side and starts moving down what I thought was this orange down channel. But after this big orange channel fail breakout here, and in respect of this resistance side, and it came back down, that's when I, as you can see, kind of created another channel, dragged it down to here, had a fail breakout here, but it doesn't quite fit nicely. Ended up putting it here. But by the time, I saw what this channel potentially could have been, it already reversed back up. So this also never got colored in. Just go ahead and delete it for now. Pushes up this green up channel, break, test the high. You have a second entry long here. The thing I didn't really like about second entry long and called an almost trade, it already broke the high. So it was nice, strongly engulfing, but I can't discount the fact that, see if I can draw this. it is potentially right at the highs, closed right at the high. Now, all intents, it says, it's showing that's really strong close, and it might push up and through. But is it going to push up and through? And it's actually, so you can see, I'd probably enter at 72.10 or 72.25. I'm looking for 6 ticks, and I'd be pushing into the high of day. So this was made in the pre-market, and I'm right here, and I'd be asking for prices not only to break through this potential resistance area, which looked like it had trouble before. I mean, this one didn't quite make a double top, but it does look like there's some kind of something being respected here. Not only am I asking for this bar to push through that, but also push all the way up to the high of day and 1 tick more for my 6 ticks. So I wasn't confident in that was necessarily going to happen for me. So I left it alone. It pushes up. I do draw this orange up channel. Initially, it had been tighter, something here. So it's okay, fail breakout here. Breaks through, comes back down. You could say it's maybe a first entry, kind of an ugly second entry, so I didn't really like that. Which then continues up. When it gets up and through here, then that's when I thought, okay, I'm going to widen this channel because it actually fits nicely here now, almost touches the high side. And if you did cut through slightly, you could argue maybe a failed breakout, but nevertheless, I'm thinking the channel's wider than I had it. Continues upwards. Again, you have a second entry long here. Say new low, first entry long, second entry long. This is kind of a shallow channel though. So it is bouncing off of this. The thing that was stopping me, I just wanted a better signal bar. It is only 8 ticks, but I wanted to close at the high, then I would have felt a little bit more comfortable, so I skipped it. Pushes up, breaks. So same thing as moving down this shallow. You can almost visually see like a first entry, second entry. Technical count, you do have a first entry here and then a second entry here. But now it's bouncing off the EMA. It has broken out of this yellow up channel, so maybe it's going to reverse back up, but it wasn't clear to me. I really wanted like the third candle, so this is the first, second, third candle to kind of give me a higher low with a bounce off the EMA, but unfortunately that doesn't happen. And I was looking at this potential high of day. Anytime I'd be buying and pushing prices or asking prices to push into the high of day, I get a little bit more weary because it's just, especially when it's this close. I mean, it's only 6 ticks, but even then, who's to say it's really going to do that? So it pushes up. I'm clearly thinking it's outside of this yellow up channel now. So I tried to fit something. Let me move it down. Try to fit something to match it. And that's kind of what I showed earlier. I was thinking, is there some kind of wider channel to contain this? But starting something from here, you don't really get any confirmations that cleanly touch it. So then I was trying down here, trying to drag it up, and nothing quite fit right until I found this guy. But even then, I'm not a big fan of this because it really only has 1 touch, 2 touch. Doesn't really quite get the third touch. High side, you kind of get 2 touches, but it's still kind of an ugly fitting channel. I'll go ahead and put it back to transparent. So I never colored it in. Oh, didn't mean to do that. Look, continues pushing up. You really don't get any clean second entries. You get kind of visual things that look like it's 2 legs, but nothing clearly, I guess, clearly defined, like showing a nice clean push up 1 leg, pull back, and then a second push up. So, and you do know things are bullish, so things are rallying. So I'm looking for reasons to go long, not to go short. So even though there's like a first entry, second entry here, I don't want to sell into this still ambiguous potential trendline support and definitely non-ambiguous EMA. I don't want to sell into that. So the prices continue moving up. It looks like it's 2 legs down. Unfortunately, there's no clean setup here. This is like 2 legs down, 1 leg down, pull back, second leg down, maybe a second entry long, but this one, hard to see. Didn't break above this, so this is technically inside to this. So, and it's below the EMA, so I'm not liking that. It does finally break through. I'm looking for a higher low, but it's also the time of day is pretty late. You potentially get a higher low here, but this isn't, when you see this in real time, just following a doji, I'm not really excited to take this. And due to the time of day, didn't really like the idea of taking any trades, even though I thought I really wanted to get that loss back. I just had to kind of accept that the loss, especially it was my fault, the stupid loss that I took, is just going to end up being a red day. So, anyways, prices move up and it starts moving, looking like it's moving sideways. But over here, it seems like there might be something setting up for you. But if you look at the timestamp, this is within the last 10 minutes. I don't want to trade or get stuck in something during the last 10 minutes when prices get kind of wild, whipsawy, and it just people are taking profits or setting up for the next day or just something crazy happens then. Lately, the last 10 minutes hasn't been all that choppy, but today it seems to be picking up. So I think tomorrow might be a more active trading day. So kind of how I saw the charts today. It's kind of a bummer because I really think I would have ended the day with a win instead of a loss if I didn't do something stupid. So hopefully that was helpful.